Hello and welcome back to Elliott's podcast. I am in which room am I in here? This is the studio room, and today I want to talk about a bit about getting inspired to play music and getting into it. And I think this is a good timing because of the holidays are coming up. I have a glass of almond milk here. I'm trying to drain down this container because it was supposed to expire last week. Vanilla flavored with no sugar. So the holidays are coming up, and it's a good time to build some habits around getting back into music and playing. It's if you can, and so this episode talks about some of the overarching idea about what inspiration is, and finding it, and the other part of it is actually specific tools. And I will do a demo of my favorite product, for which it makes for a good holiday gift. But the thing is, it's very guitar centered, so I don't want to really start there right now. For some reason, I'm out of breath. It's always a lot of work, getting things together here. I have to find what I want and get it together. But I think what the first thing I'll start with is the idea of play. And play is inherent in sort of mammal cultures, and you see it in it's probably inherent in all life, in all ecosystem. But you see it a lot with dogs and cats, and the way dogs actually get into a posture to play. So they curl up and they get ready to mess with you, and they're going to steal your stuff, and so that's the posture of play. And so I think a part of this is definitely getting us into the posture of play and thinking of play first rather than thinking of music practice first. And there's a lot of stuff about music that I don't subscribe to and that I'm not a part of, which is I never was a part of the classical music community. I never went to jazz school. I did take a sound design 1-year program at the Vancouver Film School a very long time ago. So I am trained in some forms of film and video game mixing and sound design. But but I've never went through a serious music program, and as a result, there are benefits to that history, and then there are also problems. And I've been fortunate enough to work through it with my teacher, who was originally my teacher in high school. And so I'm able to revisit why I had holes, or what the holes are, and then how to get through how to fill those holes in through practice. But I think there is something non-productive about just thinking about your time with music as a form of practice. It should be more about play, and I don't know what your goals are, and it's also you could be listening to this. You could be just thinking about production. You could be a beginner musician, just getting into it. You could be a musician who is lapsed, which means you had a lot of problems with music. I don't blame you. It's a very difficult art form to manage and to sustain throughout your life. So there's a whole category called lapsed musicians. And you could also you could be a professional watching this and saying and admitting that yes, you have some gaps with your relationship to music. So my goal is to help people with coming to it and getting back to it. And even if you aren't a musician at all, this applies to a lot of other things. You could even just be an athlete watching this. You could be a photographer, a sculptor. And so a lot of these things are linked, and they have many different branches and names and tags. One of them is the art of mastery, becoming the best you can at your craft. But then on the other hand, there's a whole world of just pure enjoyment and not doing it for the final outcome and doing it for the process. Often that is easier said than done. It's sometimes an ideal that people overuse, but that's another angle to what I'm talking about today. Now, there is one thing about practice that I think is very important, and it's getting lost on a modern day world. Even though that's a cliche thing, everyone has a problem with their modern day society. But the what's getting lost is the act of really sitting down and working through your technical mistakes, and that's where practice comes in, and that applies a lot to sports too. You might have a technical problem with your swing and you're not fixing it, but you're having fun playing with your friends, yet this technique has not been fixed, and so you're going to keep repeating the mistake, and it's going in you, and it becomes the way you do things. How you do one thing is how you do all things. And so music is a good chance to find one point in the world where you're going to like, or it could be painting in the art of like still art painting. But music, yes, because still art is like, you can paint the bowl, and then an instructor can kind of look at what you're doing, and you can work on technique. So, but music has a lot of that, where it's very easy to go after stuff like that, because there's the whole world of just songs, and you can learn to play a song, and then there's quickly a benchmark, like the song was done by the Beatles, so how well are you going to play that Blackbird song? I like that one. So just the other part about music and inspiration is there is a bit for me personally where like I'm not the type that, so some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, it's not really my exact thing, but I value this for other people, and as a whole, what I'm about to talk about today is I think very good. But one of my best inspiration is that I go for a walk, and it happens when I don't even have my phone with me, so I can't record what's happening, but I do a lot with the beatbox, and so like something like that will happen when I'm out and about. And then I get a vibe, and I get an idea. Now that's funny because that's really uppity music. Like that's wow, there's a drilling going on. That's uppity stuff, and so that's funny because the product of going for the walk, I guess because I'm moving and I'm outside, that always gives me the idea of music with motion. So that doesn't really make, for example, something like ambient music almost ever. I don't come home and maybe on like an empty morning, and I don't know. It's always like some kind of beat comes to me, and funky music, and so that's part of it. Is this going for the walk and getting things cleared out. Another part of it is clearing out space in general for removing the fearful part of you. So a lot of stuff about music is quite stressful because we're always worried that we're not going to sound good. And that's one of the big blocks for sitting down to play music. And that's why I'm actually glad I'm talking about this, because I can definitely feel that with my own stuff, is like you procrastinate time for play or practice. You procrastinate because you know you got work to do, and it's hard work. But I think the enlightenment stage is that you can actually sit down at the time you scheduled and do it. And now I'm not trying to say that enlightenment in this regard is that you can sit down at 10 p.m. and play, because sometimes I wish that it could be that easy, because like at 10 p.m. I'm really tired. I don't think that's the point. I think the point is you want to schedule a time that's like agreement for everyone. And when I say everyone, I'm referring to internally everyone, all parts of you, and that everyone's on board with this time as being a decent time. We have energy to work with and we're ready to play. So that's part of it. Like it's all about the scheduling and sitting down to play. And now we'll move on to the meat and the bones here. So this tool is called the Fender Mustang Micro, and I like it because it plugs into the guitar, and it's an amp simulator in the headphones, and I'm going to do a little demo of it shortly. So this is really good for like getting into a groove, because you can play like any let's say you're into electric guitars. Oh, even plugs into acoustics. So you could plug your acoustic in. Let's say it's early in the morning, and you would now have it in your headphones, so you might be less self-conscious about the sound. Now, really good if we're talking early in the morning, and you play electric guitar. You now have this. You can hear yourself like an amp because it's made by Fender, and then you can also hook it with Bluetooth, and we'll do that demo. And so you can play along with music over Bluetooth with this thing in. So this is the type of thing that's really good to build a routine around. Now, if you're into playing keyboard, that's a lot easier to set up, because nowadays a lot of the kind of consumer-ish keyboards have Bluetooth in them for this purpose. And the headphones is already, even on a like this keyboard over here, my Korg SV2, is not consumer. It's meant to be on a stage, really, and it's but it still has obviously headphone output, and it has plugs in the back, so I can actually plug in my iPhone or iPad into it to play along. So even that keyboard has something to work with. And then at the final stage, if you did nothing like that, you have a mixer. Now, then you can figure it out that way through a mixer. So the other thing is that if you play other instruments like wind and whatever, I think there's now all kinds of tools to like silence the instrument and get you into the headphones so you can play. So this part about it is I watched a video by Trey Anastasio recently. Trey's the guitarist from Fish. He's basically a religious leader, cult leader. He's definitely a big inspiration on me, but more inspiration on my friends, I'd say. They love Fish to no end. And Trey has some videos that were made to Instagram, I guess, during some lockdown stuff, and he kind of wanted to share. He was in a good mood, and he wanted to share. He seems to always be in a good mood. He's such a nice, light person. And he wanted to share like some, like a little course on music for people who don't play music. And I haven't actually seen the whole series, but I watched one of the videos that really struck me with, like, bam, you're so on this. You're so right. And I'll call it the Trey Anastasio method for getting into the groove. And he talked about, I think one of his morning routines for music is that he puts on like some Afrobeat music. I think Ebo Taylor was the one that he put on in that video. And he just starts to noodle along with it. Like he gets the key and he does that. And I'm reluctant to do that right now because of the like I never know what'll happen with copyright in the video, but I have selected an ambient piece that I'll put on for the same purpose. And you can put on any type of music that's why it's like great to have a Spotify subscription. Easily put on music. YouTube always puts on ads if you don't pay for YouTube Premium. So I recommend Spotify personally, but Apple Music would do just as well. And so you need to have music ready to go. Now, so I will do that demo quickly, and that'll kind of be this episode. But I do also want to tell you about an app. Oh my God. I have 54 messages waiting for me because I have a group that with my buddies, and they have sent 54 messages. I don't know what they're doing. I knew using the phone would be distracting, but my iPad isn't here. But basically, I have an app called iReal B. It's called iReal Pro, and it's I'm just gonna load it up. So we're not gonna get screenshots. So there's something called the camera get it? There it goes. So the real book is the jazz standards book, and it just so standards don't necessarily have to be jazz, but I should rephrase that. Fake book is the better word. Commonly, like with professional-ish musicians, is they have fake books, which means they can pull up any song and then they get the chords to it. And these were really popular going back quite a while. And so if you're a pop, you would maybe get a pop fake book, or you get a jazz. The classic one in jazz was called the iReal iReal B. So this app is called iReal Pro, and it takes things to a whole other level because you can load up jazz standards, but also you can load in other standards that maybe are more your style. And then you have style selection of what the backing track is. And then you also have the key changes and tempo changes. So really great for working on improvisation and general backing track. I don't love backing track work in general because it's not really my goal to be a session player or what have you, but it's part of developing technique. For example, like if I'm working on arpeggios, which I'll play some over even just ambient music, like the arpeggios are are a technique because you're now learning like a lot of notes on the fretboard. In any instrument, arpeggios are commonly common exercise because you're getting the best notes from the chord. So just to play them on your own is quite boring. So that's not inspired practice, but connecting it with other music is basically the shortcut, and that's the answer to the question that this episode poses is that, like, how do you get inspired to play? Like, so everyone's different, but if we want the easiest, like most standard thing, we can just take what Trey Anastasio said and go with that. Okay. So it's basically put on music, play along with the music, and doesn't matter what. The only issue is that some old music is tuned, like by the time it got transferred, it's like it's in between two keys from like vinyl and stuff. So that stuff is difficult. It's very frustrating if you can't play in the same key. So let's plug in I'll take a quick break and we will plug in the guitar and we will be back right here. Okay, so this is the Mustang Micro. It's plugged into the corner of this guitar, which is down there, and to be honest, it doesn't have great it will, like the way it's plugged in right now, it would fall out easily. So it's not like a performance tool. This is very much a practice tool, better with headphones, but I'm plugging it into a mixer, so. So I typically don't play a lot of distorted stuff. I like a clean. This will do for now. And the type of guitar I'm playing is also not amazing for this. This is a semi-hollow body with one pickup, and I have another one, like a real electric is good with this type of thing. You get all the tone selection. But this is due, and I love this guitar the most for my electric-ish style. So so it's connected over Bluetooth, and we will load up Spotify. I don't know if you saw the new documentary on Spotify, but it was quite good actually. Spotify, there's a show on Netflix, but I like watching stuff in its original language. So it's like the Swedish is like da, 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 Spotify, Pirate Bay. But this is so I have the track Thursday Night, Friday Morning by IKSRE and Party Store. This is from the playlist called Ambient Sleeping Pill, which I love this one. It really, and there's the record label that this track is from, I think makes this, Stereo Scenic Records. They're doing good work in ambient. So just putting on a track in Spotify, and then we will see. So we know it's in G. I knew that because I figured it out before. So I think you get the gist. Like you can kind of come up with your own thing for when you play along. So and then maybe record that, and then turn that into your own song. So in that case, this is inspiration in another way. I mean, there was the part I did play a little bit of the arpeggios for you that I might be working on, but we can do stumbling. Now that's pretty boring overall music, hanging out in the major scale. But if you layer it with the pads, which were on demand because I put on Spotify, then you're like kind of mixing and matching different things that could be cool. Let me just show you quickly just before we go. Just gonna show you what the. So this is iReal. So this is a blues in B. Now this is Latin bossa acoustic. This would drive me nuts. Let's see. I like this Afro 12/8 that comes up. So then I can customize it and get the piano to be a Rhodes. So that's kind of the vibe there, is you get this little jam along. And like if you were, by the way, my guitar sounds a little, the tuning isn't great. My tuner isn't here, and I just, but you can go with different styles. But then in that case, like, okay, you maybe do all the arpeggios to play along with the blues, and then I'd switch it to G. Well, now I'm all the way down here. So you get the point there, and then, but I mean, what really gets this thing going, if you wanted to do more jazz and blues, is like, if If I load up Blues for Alice by Charlie Parker, let's see what happens then. I mean, play them changes. So that will really playing those standards, I think, really. The blues is good exercises, but it's the standards that are really good, taking you into the next level. And I think as people get a little older, I mean, it's also culturally where are you at with music? Most of the people I know don't really. Let's get this mic here. Most people I know don't really. They're not so into jazz, to be honest. Jazz hands. And that's okay, but I think like getting good at music is. Sorry, I just was looking at the mixer. There's, getting like going to a next level is probably. You're looking at more jazz and classical. I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't want to be rude and say, what's the outcome of just playing Taylor Swift all the time? But I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. Learn some jazz and classical music. Get your chops going. I think that's really where you're going to get the brain power, the brain benefits of music. But for most people, I never want to put down pop music. Yeah, like even playing the ukulele to Taylor Swift is totally, like, really, I think that's really good for the brain, teaching you coordination. You notice when I did the blues play along, you do a little rhythm, like get some rhythm in there, work on the rhythm. Ukulele is pretty much you're only working on rhythm and changing chords. So there is a lot of merit to like the basic play along, and really is like all about like play along to the music that you enjoy. So that's why I can't speak for you and what you want to play along to. That's just not right. But typically younger people enjoy pop music. That's kind of what they're hearing. Their friends are talking about pop often. So that's typically the life of a younger person. But as you get a little older, I think people can their brains warm up to some of these other styles. But again, I can't comment on how that works because I was listening to fusion jazz and stuff even as a teenager. So it was kind of always part of my identity. So I think that's pretty much all I have for you. But I hope this was good. And the Mustang Micro is actually, I forgot to mention, it is quite an affordable tool. The thing I plugged in my guitar, the amp simulator, that's like no more than 150, nowhere near $200, but goddamn inflation. I don't know what anything costs anymore. And so it's a great Christmas gift. That's also why I wanted to sneak that one in there, giving someone a Christmas idea. Or you want to treat yourself this holiday season to something that will help you play music. And so, so iReal Pro for the iOS and the Mustang Micro. But realistically, just putting music on and getting a routine that because... So if you set the time that you're going to play music at 10 a.m. tomorrow, then you might want to plan ahead. Like, how am I going to be mildly inspired to do this odd activity that no one else is doing around me at most times a day? So the way you're going to maybe do that is the Trey Anastasio method, which is put on a piece of music from Spotify and play along to it and see what happens and see if you can work some of the technique that you're working on into it and see if you can write something new with it And then additionally, if you were not doing anything with music and you were still following this episode, the thing that is similar is like you can, like if you're a writer, you can just take a storyline that's already existed, like a plot line, and then rewrite it as your own, repainting other paintings that already exist. Kenneth Goldsmith, this American poet, goes even further. He's very big on like rewriting, like copying out other written works by hand, I think, as a way of like, I guess, his inspiration. So copying and playing along is where it's at for getting unstuck. And then if you are on a roll and you're learning a piece, sometimes it just happens that you know that you need to sit down and play that piece tomorrow or something. So that's kind of what the goal is that you don't always need these things, but it clearly Trey Anastasio benefited from. I'm sitting in a stool, so the posture is like really tough. There's no back to it. It's a barber's hairdresser stool. I typically won't play guitar in this stool because of that issue. You need a bit of back support, but it's good for wheeling around this room. So yeah, like as I said, Trey probably has that routine as the starting point, even if he is maybe inspired that week. Maybe he always does this as a way of doing it every day, because I think that's way more important. 10 minutes to 15 minutes a day and I know that from my own experience, is like way more impactful than 3 hours or 2 hours before a lesson or something where you're cramming things in. All right, so that was good. I'm actually hoping to eventually start doing some stuff where I bring people together for some kind of jam along, like where maybe we put on the music from that, like off of Spotify, and we find the key and then everyone goes on mute and plays, like, because I really think the power of being together and the power of gathering and the art of gathering is really important skill to cultivate on my end as someone who talks about this stuff. I think that's a skill, but it's also about helping people get their skills going. So I will probably put a little interest form somewhere on this episode, link to it, and so if people are interested in doing something like that, they'll be able to put their name down as interest. So okay, I thank you so much, and yeah, this is Elliott's podcast. My name is Elliott Feinberg, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Danke schön.